August 1st, 2017, the Moscow Regional Court. 5 men on trial for 17 murders are being taken upstairs in a prisoner elevator, handcuffed, escorted, 30 seconds from their courtroom. Somewhere between floors, they move. When the doors open on the third floor, the men inside are no longer prisoners. They have overpowered their guards. They are armed with the guards' own pistols, and for the next few minutes, one of the most secure court buildings in Russia becomes a battlefield. Gunfire in the corridors, National Guard troops storming the floor, 3 defendants shot dead in a building built to judge them. Russian media had a name for these men. They called them the GTA gang, because what they did on the night highways outside Moscow looked less like crime and more like a video game where drivers were targets. This is the real story. It starts quietly, in March 2012, with a taxi driver named Bakram Saytimbetov, 26 years old, working the roads southeast of Moscow. He is found shot dead near the village of Ganusovo. His car is there. His money mostly is there. It looks senseless, and unsolved cases that look senseless that get filed and forgotten. Over the following 2 years, the pattern repeats and sharpens. By late 2013, the gang has engineered its signature method. At night, on federal highways outside Moscow, the M4, the roads of the Moscow and Kaluga regions, they lay homemade spikes across the asphalt. Small, brutal, effective. A strip of metal thorns that shreds tires at speed. A driver feels the wheel go. He pulls onto the shoulder, in the dark, on an empty stretch of road, and gets out to look at the damage. Sometimes a helpful stranger appears from the tree line. Sometimes there is only the muzzle flash. 17 people will die this way, or in variations of it, between 2012 and 2014. Truck drivers. Commuters. A man driving home from a night shift. People whose only mistake was a flat tire at the wrong kilometer marker. And here is the detail that will torment investigators, the detail that gives the case its strange, cold shape. Almost nothing is taken. Small cash, a phone here, documents there. Cars worth thousands left at the scene. Whatever this is, it is not robbery in any way that makes economic sense. The victims are random. The locations rotate across 3 regions. Deliberately, it will later turn out, to keep the cases scattered across different police jurisdictions that don't compare notes. Sound familiar? Every serial case in this series has this moment. The moment the system's own seams start working for the killers. By 2014, drivers on Moscow's southern highways know something is out there. Trucker forms fill with warnings. Don't stop for a flat at night. Drive on the rims if you have to. Men who haul freight for a living start carrying weapons they aren't licensed to carry, because a fine is survivable. The press finally gives the fear a name. Random victims, night roads, killing without profit. To headline writers, it looks like someone treating the Moscow region as an open-world shooting game. The GTA gang. The name is glib, and investigators hate it. But it does one important thing. It forces the scattered cases into a single national story. 17 bodies stop being 17 files in 3 different regions. Now it is one manhunt, and it is going nowhere. Investigators call cases like this without handles. Nothing to grab. No connection between victims because there isn't one. The road chose them. No witnesses because the road is empty at 2 a.m. No stolen goods surfacing in markets because almost nothing was stolen. No pattern of enemies, debts, or feuds because the victims never met their killers before the final minutes. The task force grows into one of the largest in the region's recent history. Hundreds of officers. Roadside cameras are checked kilometer by kilometer. Undercover cars drive bait routes at night on the M4 corridor. The theories multiply in the vacuum. A lone psychopath, but the scenes clearly show coordinated teamwork. Insurance fraud, cargo piracy, a turf war, but nothing of value moves. And quietly, at the edges of the investigation, a darker theory. That the killing itself is the point. That someone is training, or being trained, or proving something to someone. Meanwhile, the gang's discipline is remarkable and chilling. They live legally boring lives. By day, they are laborers, cooks, drivers, migrant workers from Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, indistinguishable from hundreds of thousands of others in the Moscow region's shadow economy. They don't drink away sudden money, because there is no sudden money. They don't talk. Their cell structure would later remind investigators of an insurgency more than a street gang. Small groups, need to know, a single commander. That commander lives under a false name. Rustam Usmanov, the documents say. His real name is Ibaydullo Subkhanov, and the place he has chosen to live is the detail this case will never live down. Subkhanov rents a small outbuilding in the quiet dacha village of Udelnaya, southeast of Moscow, on a property connected to the family of a senior official of the prosecutor general's office. The official himself was never accused of anything. Investigators questioned him only as a witness, a landlord's son who had no idea what was sleeping in the yard. But hold the image for a moment. The most wanted killer on Russia's highways, wanted across 3 regions, living with his girlfriend and 2 children, behind the fence of one of the safest addresses imaginable. The man hunting drivers on the A4 was, in the most literal sense, hiding in the last place anyone would look. In September 2014, the gang attacks again, on the MKAD itself, Moscow's Ring Road, at a gas station. It is their most brazen strike, and their last. Because by now, the task force finally has a thread. Phones, vehicles, a face that repeats across camera archives. The thread leads southeast of Moscow, to a fence. November 6, 2014. Before dawn, Special Forces units surround the property on Gorky Street. Snipers, armored vehicles, the Regional Special Rapid Response Team, RIS, Lynx. They are not guessing. They know who is inside the outbuilding. Ibaydullo Subkhanov, the man the files call the organizer of 17 murders. They also know he will not surrender, because men who build insurgent cells don't. When the assault begins, Subkhanov meets it with a grenade in his hand. He dies in the doorway of the little building he rented, resisting to the last second, a few meters from where his children slept. The leader of the GTA gang never sees a courtroom, never gives an interview, never explains a single kilometer of what he did. It is a strange kind of ending, the kind that solves a case and answers nothing. In the days that follow, the arrests cascade across the Moscow region. Safe houses, weapons caches, homemade spike strips, pistols that ballistics will match to bodies on the M4. 9 men will eventually stand trial in Russia. 2 more, arrested abroad, will be sentenced to 25 years each in Tajikistan. And now the investigators finally get to ask the only question that matters: why? The answer from the interrogation rooms is unsatisfying in a way that true crime rarely admits. The official version, the one the court will eventually endorse, is banditry, an armed gang, robbery as motive. It is legally clean and factually strange, because the robbery netted almost nothing, 17 lives for pocket change and phone handsets. The unofficial theories are darker. Investigators leak, and journalists Tatsik. and journalists chase versions in which the highway killings were something else. Discipline, initiation, training, a cell hardening itself, possibly for export, possibly for someone else's war. None of it is ever proven in court. The men themselves, the ones taken alive, explain almost nothing, and what they do say contradicts itself. We can name them, photograph them, convict them, but the families, to number them, is a reason never got. That adds up. Sometimes the scariest sentence in a case file is motive, material gain, written under 17 murders and a stack of untouched valuables. The trial opens at the Moscow Regional Court, 5 defendants in the cage, charged as the surviving core of the gang: Sherozjan Kadyrov, Hazratkan Dodkhonov, Umar Hasanov, Anvar Ulugmuradov, Zafarjan Guliamov, and alongside them the men accused of supporting roles: 17 murder counts, counted, 2 attempted, trudabberty, banditry, weapons, robbery, used way huge, too slowly, procedurally. 2016 and 2017, victim by victim, episode by episode. The defendants mostly deny, mostly stay quiet. The families sit through it. The press coverage thins. Even a case called the GTA gang can become routine. August 1st, 17 ends the routine. That morning, 5 of the defendants are being moved to the hearing in the court's prisoner elevator, escorted by 2 convoy guards. The plan, and the court later establishes it was a plan, coordinated in advance, is simple and absolute. This is the day they get out, or the day they die. Inside the elevator, the 5 overpower the 2 guards and take their service pistols. When the doors open, on the 3rd floor, armed men step out into a working courthouse. They make it exactly as far as the National Guard post. In the firefight that follows, inside the building, past hearing rooms, 3 of the 5 are shot dead. Ibaydullo Subkhanov, the dead leader's own brother; Abdumukim Mamachanov; Mirzo Mavlanan Mirzo Sharapov. The other 2 are wounded and retaken. Convoy officers are injured. Civilians in the building that morning will describe the sound of automatic fire in a courthouse corridor. A sentence that should not exist. Think about what the escape attempt actually was, because the court did. 5 men, unarmed, handcuffed, in the most guarded building of their lives, chose a corridor shootout against the National Guard over a verdict. It was the gang's entireness. It was the gang's entire philosophy in one act. Total commitment, 0 negotiation. Life priced at nothing, including their own. The elevator was the last attack of the GTA gang. And like all the others, it gained them nothing. A year later, on August 9th, 2018, the verdicts finally land. Life imprisonment, the maximum Russian law allows, for Kadyrov, Dodkhonov, Kasonov, Kasasanov, and Ulugmuradov. 20 years of strict regime for Guliamov. In September 2019, the Supreme Court of Russia reviews the appeals and changes nothing. The judge reads 17 names into the record. The drivers: a taxi driver saving for a wedding, long-haul men whose trucks were found idling on the shoulder, fathers who stepped out of the car to look at a flat tire and never stepped back in. The state gave their killers every year it had the power to give. What it could not give the families was the thing every one of them said they came for. In the hallway interviews after the verdict, the same word keeps surfacing. In Russian, again and again, Pochemu. Why? The GTA gang case closed with the heaviest sentences Russia can impose, and it still refuses to close in the way stories are supposed to. The roads changed first. The M4 corridor got cameras, patrol density, rapid response protocols that hadn't existed when the first drivers died. The trick that fed the gang for 2 years. 3 regions, 3 jurisdictions, nobody comparing files, became a case study in why unified databases exist. Police academies now teach the case. So do security services. For a different reason, as an example of how a violent cell can live inside a migrant labor economy, invisible not because it hides, but because nobody looked. The villa in Udelnaya remains the case's permanent asterisk, the wanted killer sleeping soundly on the property, tied to the family of a senior prosecutor's official, who knew nothing, checked nothing, and was accused of nothing. No charge was ever filed over it. Nothing illegal happened there at all. That is exactly why the detail stings. Everything worked as normal, and normal was enough to hide him. And the motive question was never answered. Not in the interrogation rooms, not at trial, not on appeal. The court wrote material gain. The evidence wrote 17 dead drivers and almost nothing stolen. Between those two lines lives whatever the truth actually was. Training, ideology, obedience, or a cruelty that simply doesn't translate into any language a court speaks. Somewhere tonight, on the M4 south of Moscow, a driver feels a tire go soft in the dark. He slows, looks at the empty tree line in his mirrors, and keeps driving on the rim to the next lit gas station. Because every driver in that part of Russia still knows the story of the men who waited on the shoulder. 17 people never got that warning. The gang that killed them took almost nothing, explained even less, and ended in an elevator, choosing bullets over answers. The road keeps the rest.